Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Canadiens Connection podcast right here on Rocket Sports Radio, where each and every week we keep you informed, we keep you engaged, we keep you entertained while we break down all of the latest about the Montreal Canadiens, your favorite hockey team, our favorite hockey team, and it's going to be a great show today. First off, though, let me introduce myself. My name is Amy Johnson. I'm your host for today's show, and that would be episode 372 of the Canadiens Connection podcast. This week's show is called What October Taught Us About the Canadiens. 10 key takeaways because, yes, it's November 1st. We have transitioned to November. Clocks are about to go back this week, Rick. In fact, let me introduce my wonderful co-host. He's our editor-in-chief and founder here at Rocket Sports. His name is Rick Stevens, and we're all about to gain an hour of sleep tonight.
That would be good.
Yeah,
that would be good, especially for those that need to catch up on their sleep from the late Seattle game or maybe the 18-inning Blue Jays game, and you said we're into November. What are we still doing playing baseball in November?
That's how it goes.
As we record, Game 7 tonight in Toronto, the deciding game.
Good night to gain an extra hour in case there's celebrations.
Yeah, there was no celebrating. What happened? What happened on Friday night? What happened? That was a bizarre ninth inning. And I know we're here to talk about the Canadiens, but for the moment, Toronto Blue Jays are all of Canada's baseball team against the Dodgers, and that was just a bizarre ninth inning. No Joe Carter moment. And I just got to ask, when did baseball players become so delicate that they're unable to pick up a ball that lands on the warning track against the wall?
Yeah.
And all you have to do is you wave your hands wildly, you look pathetic, you maybe shed a little tear, and an umpire is going to run out to save you.
Oh, it's a dead ball.
Dead ball.
Dead ball.
It was.
I don't like it.
No. I mean, yeah, last week I think I advised everybody, I jump on board during the playoffs of the World Series. I don't watch. I used to watch baseball a lot when the Expos were around. Blue Jays, Detroit Tigers. I used to go to Minneapolis for Twins games. Used to watch baseball a lot. Was in fantasy baseball leagues. Don't anymore. It's just dropped off. I don't have time. It's dropped off the radar.
But the excitement is that it is Game 7 of the World Series tonight.
It is, and
so be excited.
I'm trying to get on board with all these new rules and the auto intentional walks. You don't even have to throw pitches anymore. Wearing the George Costanza oven mitts on the base pass. I was asked to insert more Seinfeld references. George Costanza was a hand model.
That's right.
But no, they wear those oven mitts on the base pass these days. Where is that? I know we read comments at the end, but this one I thought was this was terrific. Mike, I'd like to start a petition for more Seinfeld references. A weekly one would be greatly appreciated. What a show! Now, when he says "what a show," was he talking about Seinfeld or the Canadiens Connection, or both?
We'll go with both.
All right,
we'll go with both.
Okay.
We can do more Seinfeld
references. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Game 7, World Series. As you say, all of Canada's super excited. It's a big deal. I mean, I'm a Phils fan, and I'm excited for the Toronto Blue Jays because I would love to see them win. So I'd love to see some celebrations tonight. Maybe there will be a World Series championship parade for your birthday.
Whoa.
Yes. See, I was trying to get him excited about the World Series, folks, because we have to wish Rick a happy birthday this week. It's coming on Wednesday. So get your happy birthdays in for Rick Stevens. And what if you had a World Series parade for your birthday? That'd be kind of cool.
And after, a Canadiens win the night before.
All right. You don't ask for much.
It's not so much.
Happy early birthday.
Thank
I hope
you.
you enjoy your week very much and have great celebrations.
Canadiens playing the Flyers on Tuesday, so at home. Canadiens win would be very satisfying.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'll see who I can talk to about that. All right. Well, here's what we've got coming for you this week on the show. We are going to, in the first segment, give you a quick rundown of what happened in the just 2 games that the Canadiens played since our last podcast episode. Get you caught up on the highlights, the lowlights, and everything in between for all of those 2 games. Then we're going to get you caught up on the roster report, if there's injury updates, that type of thing. Habs prospect report. We've got a great prospect to update you on this week, as well as some terrific information about how the Laval Rocket and the Trois-Rivières Lions are doing. And then we've got some general notes from around the NHL, around the hockey world to go over with you before we take our first break on the show. And then after that will be our second segment, which is where we dive into our big topic for this week's episode. That topic is what we learned in October, 10 things we know about the Habs so far. And so we're going to take a look back at the first calendar month of the season and see what it has revealed to us. Where are some surprises? Where are some, surprises, good or bad? Who is excelling? Who is lagging behind? What has October told us about the 2025-26 Montreal Canadiens? We're going to take you through 10 different players and aspects and what we've learned so far this short amount of time that we've spent in the season. We'll, of course, have a great Canadiens Connection question of the week for you to answer. And then in our final segment, we've got some terrific responses from last week's Canadiens Connection question of the week that we want to bring to you. Don't forget, if you want to make your voice heard as a Habs fan, if you want your shot at getting your opinions read out loud here on the show next week, well, you have to answer the Canadiens Connection question of the week, or even just send in your own comments or statements or questions about any topic surrounding the Canadiens. The way for you to do that is to send us a text on our Rocket Sports text line. That's 5853-ROCKET. Once again, that text line is 5853-ROCKET. You can also drop a comment on Spotify. If you are one of the many, 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 many people who listen to the podcast on Spotify, well, you can leave us a comment on Spotify as well about anything and everything, and we will check there as well for your submissions to possibly be read out on the show. You can drop a comment on our YouTube channel. Where do you find us on YouTube? Just go to InsideTheCanadiens.com. It'll take you right to our YouTube page, and you can drop a comment there, or good old-fashioned social media, X, Facebook, Instagram. The handle is at Habs Connection, at Habs Connection on X, Facebook, or Instagram. So comment early and often, and we hope to be able to read your opinions on next week's show. But let's first start with the week that was. Before we get into the business side of things, I also should say happy belated Halloween to everyone. Hope everyone had a great trick-or-treat on Friday night. Hope you had some adorable little ghouls and goblins come to your doors, and I hope you gave out good treats. No tricks, all treats. But the Canadiens, they seem to have some fun with their Halloween party this week.
They did. And these, you'll have to check out Instagram. For the most part, the wives or partners or girlfriends of the players have posted the Halloween costume pictures there. And interesting, I guess. And you remember Carey Price and Angela were always very creative.
Oh, they always had a theme.
Yeah, they were always great. Dobson as Frankenstein was pretty good. Slafkovsky is Scarface. Okay, that's fine. And some others.
Yeah, we had Arbor Jacki and his girlfriend went as the little boy, the scout, and the old man from Disney Pixar's movie Up, and it was his girlfriend who was dressed up as the cranky old man, which was
She
pretty
needed
cute.
the mustache, though, I think.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Might be asking a little too much.
All right.
Brendan Gallagher, the two of them were dressed up as prisoners. Gally going with the face tats and everything, which was a little much. Cutest, best part of it though, those two jailbirds. Baby is a cop.
All right.
Baby's locked him up.
That.
Locked up mom and dad. I like it. So yeah, there were some cute ones. We'll have to wait. Halloween was just on Friday night, so I think there's a lot more coming.
Yeah.
There weren't too many to review as of the time of recording today, but you can always count on them to be creative and have a little bit of fun. Yeah, we always like checking that out. And they had plenty of time to do that because they only played 2 games this past week. Last Saturday night in Vancouver and then Tuesday night's late night game in Seattle. And they haven't played a game since then. So if we scoot back to last Saturday, the game in Vancouver, Montreal did come out with the win in this one. Dobesh getting his 3rd start of the week. I have to say was totally jumping up and down that of the 4 games that the Canadiens played last week, Dobesh got 3 starts, and I think I like the meritocracy. I like seeing that. Okay, Jakub Dobesh is playing very well. He's getting the starts as it should be. And if it were the other way around, if Montembeault was just lights out and Dobesh was struggling, I'd say the same thing in the opposite direction. But happy to see that the right call was made there. Montreal winning this one 4-3.
Canadiens down early in this one, 2-0 lead for Vancouver, and then the Canadiens came roaring back courtesy of the power play, the revamped power play with Ivan Demidov on the first wave. 2 power play goals, one by Suzuki, one by Slafkovsky, but Demidov getting the primary assist on both. And the Canadiens rattled off 4 straight goals with Demidov getting the 4th goal and a goal and 2 assists. His first, the first 3-point game in his early NHL career. He was the first star of the game. And afterwards, he was quoted as saying, "Wasn't my best game, got a couple of points. It's cool, but it wasn't my best game." So we'll look forward to his best game, which is still coming up, apparently.
Absolutely. And of course, Dobesh with his 5th straight win, which equals how he started last season.
Mm-hmm.
So that brings us to Tuesday. Well, guess what? Jakub Dobesh got the net again on Tuesday night in Seattle. And the Canadiens once again with a 4-3 victory, this time in OT, and that gives Jakub Dobesh his 6th straight win. So he had an outstanding start to the season last year. Well, he's already bested it.
Caufield opening the scoring with his 8th of the year. Slafkovsky and Newhook, another 2 power play goals to add to their totals. So 3-0 lead. This game was firmly in hand until midway through the 3rd period, and then Canadiens collapsed. 3 straight goals by the Kraken. 2 of those by Brandon Montour. One of them a power play goal with Struble in the penalty. Took a bad penalty. Marty St. Louis was not happy with that. And then game went to overtime, and the savior, Cole Caufield, scoring his 9th of the year.
Ooh, boy, oh boy. Well, when compiling your 3 stars for this week, I don't think that there was any question that Cole Caufield would top the list.
That's right. Caufield, just 2 games played, as you mentioned. Caufield scored twice, had an assist for 3 points, and 1 overtime game-winning goal.
Okay. And you also have, I don't think anyone can argue with Ivan Demidov getting the second star for you for the week.
Nope. 3 points in 2 games, 2 power play points, and a game-winning goal.
Okay. We like that. And the captain, Nick Suzuki, coming in with the third star of the week.
3 assists, 1 goal, 4 points. He's my third star of the week.
But you got to have some honorable mentions because there were some guys that, there were a lot of guys that had really strong weeks.
Yeah, Yuri Slafkovsky had a couple of goals and an assist, 3 power play points. I'd give him an honorable mention. And we talked about Jakub Dobeš. He's now 6-0-0. That's one better than how he started the season last season, and a 197 goals against and 930 save percentage.
Ooh, go Jakub Dobeš. So through 11 games played, the Canadiens sit with a nice little 8-3-0 record. That's good enough for 16 points, putting them second in the Atlantic Division, 7th overall in the NHL. Woo! We're going to talk about that a little bit more coming up in the second segment when we hit our big topic, but that's a nice way to start the season. In terms of the roster, as soon as the Canadiens got back to the Eastern time zone, back to Quebec, they sent Joshua Waugh and Mark Delgaizo back to the Laval Rocket. And really the two of them, the sum total of them being on that Western road trip was just as extra
insurance.
Yep, extra insurance because they did not make much of an appearance.
Right. Delgaizo, healthy scratch for each game, and Joshua Waugh played 1 game, less than 8 minutes of ice time.
Okay. Everyone seemed to lose their mind a little bit online on Thursday when the Canadiens announced that William Trudeau was placed on waivers with the purpose of sending him back to the Laval Rocket. He was not claimed. He was assigned to Laval, and I think everyone kind of forgot that William Trudeau was a thing.
Yeah, the question, lots of questions on social media is, when did he get called up? Well, the fact is he didn't get sent down. He didn't participate in training camp. He was injured. Can't send an injured player to Laval. So once he was recovered healthy, he was sent to Laval and unclaimed, as you said.
Same kind of scenario with different defenseman, David Reinbacher. You'll remember during a preseason game against the Leafs, he fractured the metacarpal bone in his right hand. Doc
Morris will be proud of you by being very specific there.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Saluting Doc Morris right now. Expectation at the time was that he would miss about 4 weeks, and seems like he's right on schedule.
Yep. He's been quietly completing his rehab. He skated on his own. He participated in a few of the team practices this year, getting on the ice with the Rocket for the first time on Tuesday. And then on Thursday, the Canadiens loaned Reinbacher to the Laval Rocket, and he was able to make his season debut for the Rocket on Friday night, and that was against Rochester. And we'll talk about that once we get to the Laval Rocket coverage.
That's right. To start the season, we talked a lot about the possibility of, the probability, the likelihood of would Ivan Demidov be in contention for the Calder Trophy this year. The idea of the Canadiens potentially having back-to-back Calder winners would be pretty exciting. But the way the first month has gone, there's actually a few Canadiens that could be in contention.
Yeah, imagine not only that possibility of a consecutive back-to-back, and that I don't believe the Canadiens have ever had 2 consecutive back-to-back. Well, I'm repeating myself, redundant. And it's rare around the league. I think it was Bobby Orr and Derek Sanderson in the 60s were the last ones to do it. But the Canadiens have multiple contenders. And certainly, if Jakub Dobeš continues along this pace, and that's a big if, but he's going to get some votes. Oliver Kapanen has been excellent, and of course, Demidov leading all rookies. And we're going to talk about these players a little bit more later on. Elsewhere around the league, Emmett Finney from Detroit, Zibulium from the Wild, Matthew Schaefer. They'll all have some consideration. It's early, but it's exciting that the Canadiens have 3 rookies who are just lighting it up.
Absolutely. Well, while we're talking about young players, why don't we take a dip into the Habs prospect report?
It's time for the Rocket Report. The Rocket Sports Media Team is your premier source for information about the Laval Rocket, the AHL affiliate of the Montreal Canadiens, as well as Habs prospects playing in the CHL, NCAA, and leagues around the world.
Of course, every week we try to highlight a different Montreal Canadiens prospect who is playing outside of NHL, AHL, and playing in different leagues that maybe not everyone has the ability to keep such close tabs on. This week, we're shining that spotlight on the KHL and young forward Alexander Zhuravsky, who, of course, plays for Salavat Yulayev Ufa in the KHL. He was, as you recall, a second-round draft pick, number 34 overall, by the Canadiens just this past summer.
Ranked pretty highly by the Canadiens. They considered him, if they were considering him with one of their first-round picks, if they had indeed used one of their first-round picks. They traded up to that 34 slot to get him, and are pretty happy they did, and so is Ivan Demidov, as they are friends. He's been centering the third line. Viktor Kozlov is his coach, and he's getting some power play time. And he's kind of on pace with what Demidov did in the KHL. Zhuravsky is second in KHL scoring amongst skaters who are under 20. Zhuravsky is 18 years old and so far has 5 goals, 9 assists for 14 points in 13 games in the KHL.
It's pretty exciting. Rookie of the week for week 7 in the KHL.
Rookie of the week. And then with October just ending on Saturday morning, he was named KHL Rookie for the month of October. So this
does feel like deja vu.
It really does. It really does.
Because this happened week after week and month after month with Demidov last year in the KHL. So we'll see, knock on wood, we'll see if Zhuravsky can keep that up. Also, just a quick note, Michael Hage, 6 goals and 8 assists for 14 points in just 8 games for Michigan so far in NCAA Division I.
Looking for second-line centers, third-line centers. Both Hage and Zhuravsky, as you know, are centers. So just keep that in mind.
I'm going to officially start a hashtag.
What's that?
Uncage the Hage.
Okay.
It's going to be the official push to get Michael Hage. I honestly literally just came up with that in my head, and I really hope somebody else hasn't come up with that already.
All right.
And if anybody listening to this steals it, you better give me credit. At Flyers Rule is my X hashtag.
Yeah. I
want the credit. I'm tweeting it. I'm going to tweet it as soon as this show is done, just so that I can say I had it first.
Nice.
The Laval Rocket has had a couple of games this past week. They wrapped up their kind of New York road trip last weekend on Saturday with a visit to the Utica Comets. And they did down the Comets 4-2. Utica, boy, oh boy. And tip of the hat to our dear friend and colleague, Patrick Williams, who made note of this on X earlier today. Utica is one of just 2 teams left in the AHL who has not had a win yet. But more importantly, this is the second season in a row that Utica has started really poorly. You may all recall last season, Utica, I think, went 10 games before they had a win. And I think now they're like 0-6-1 to start the season. Obviously, Laval beating them in regulation on Saturday night didn't help things. So Utica really struggling, and that's a big deal for Laval because they're in the same division. They're a team that they play quite often, and we'll see if the Comets can turn things around and get a little more competitive for their division rivals. Then the Laval Rocket came home, back to Quebec, back to Place Belle. The Lehigh Valley Phantoms came to town to visit on Wednesday night. Jacob Fowler just notching his second shutout of the season, with Laval winning 3-0. So we're talking about Jakob Dobeš and his incredible start to his season. Well, Rick, Jacob Fowler is having a pretty darn nice start to his season as well down in the AHL.
Hashtag the two Jakes. Jakob Dobeš and Jake. Okay, that's my contribution.
Okay.
You
have fun with that.
Five starts for Fowler, 3 wins, two shutouts, 240 goals against, 902 save percentage. He's doing all right.
He's doing okay. I think he's doing okay.
Yeah.
Then on Friday night, Rochester came to town for the spooky Halloween game. Kaapo Kähkönen in net for this, 34 saves on 36 shots, but unfortunately, Laval dropped this one with just a 2-1 final score, with the Amerks winning. Laval was up 1-0 in this game, but thanks to a Jared Davidson goal, but late goal, go-ahead goal by Rochester with just a couple minutes left in regulation to seal the win for the Americans.
Kaapo Kähkönen, 34 saves on 36 shots. He's playing well,
Yeah,
and which is good because I think it's a competitive situation. They've kind of been trading back and forth starts, and it's good because it pushes Fowler, who's competitive in nature. So no blame for Kähkönen on this one. Just over 3 minutes left. The Ryan Johnson for Rochester made a pass. Reinbacher, in hindsight, he tried to intercept the pass, missed it, and that sent away Trevor Kuntar for the game winner. Trevor Kuntar, it's not many Canadiens fans are going to get this, but his dad, Les Kuntar, goaltender for the Montreal Canadiens, played in, was it Fredericton or Sherbrooke? I think it was Fredericton. It was just after the cup-winning season in '93. The following season, Patrick Roy, of course, had, 60-odd games in the net, and there were backups, and one of the backups was Les Kuntar, father of Trevor, who scored the goal last night.
Wow.
I know that's a long way around.
It's a Canadiens connection.
It is a Canadiens connection.
There you go.
Yeah, the Canadiens or the Laval Rocket, bolstered by the return from the Canadiens with Del Gaizo. He was on the third pairing with Klurman. Toby Bisson was with Josiah Didier, and Ingstrom and Reinbacher on the top pairing. Reinbacher, he moved okay. No shots, 2 penalty minutes. He was a -2, unfortunately, and he took full blame for the loss. He's quoted as saying, "It was my fault. I tried to, surprise the defenseman who's trying to make the pass, and he said I just should have finished my hit rather than trying to make the big play." Pascal Vincent said, I get it. I appreciate that he's taking the blame, but it's his first game back. We're not going to blame him for it. Yeah. Adam Ingstrom said you can't blame him. The puck was bouncing, and overall, Reinbacher said he felt good to be on the ice and felt that he moved pretty well.
Well, that's the important part. So through 8 games played, Laval sitting with a 5-4-0 record. That's good enough for 10 points, which places them 3rd overall in the North Division, 11th overall in the AHL. So not too shabby, just kind of a, not lights out, but in okay, slightly above average start to the season. We'll see how things shape up for them. They rematch with Rochester today at 3 p.m. Eastern this afternoon, and then they actually don't play again until next Friday when Hartford comes to Place Bell. So they'll have plenty of time for practice in between. Also, just want to make a quick note on the ECHL front. The Trois-Rivières Lions, remember, they are the defending Kelly Cup champions. They dropped a game to Adirondack 4-1 last Saturday, but when they played on Friday night, they won 6-3
against the Gargoyles. The new. I like their jerseys.
Are they
their
the
logo.
Georgia?
Greensboro,
yes,
yeah,
Greensboro.
I think
Greensboro Gargoyles 6-3. So Trois-Rivières are back on top. 6 points, third in the North Division, 12th in the ECHL. So they're doing all right as well. Just a couple of notes from around the NHL. Teams are doing everything they can for players that they want to get signed to 8-year contracts. They are getting them done while they can before the new CBA goes into effect. Dallas signing defenseman Thomas Harley to an 8-year deal with an AAV of $10.587 million.
All right. So that makes the Canadiens' defensive signings of late a bit of a bargain compared to that.
Bit of a bargain. Don't forget, he was an 18th overall pick in 2019. Utah also.
They've been surprising.
And the Canadiens play them twice this month. They signed Logan Cooley to an 8-year contract extension. Remember, Cooley was drafted by the Coyotes back in 2022, number 3 overall. He gets an 8-year extension with an AAV of $10 million.
So maybe Yuri Slafkovsky is the bargain. Cooley has been more productive than the number 1 pick that year, 2022 draft, as you mentioned. Cooley has 121 points in just 168 games. Slafkovsky, 4 fewer points, 117 points. 45 odd more games, 211 games thereabouts. They're different players. They bring different things.
Yes, they're very different. And the NHL.com, their writers this week put out their projected Olympic roster for each country for the upcoming Winter Olympics in 2026. They do have Nick Suzuki playing for Canada.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're projecting that Nick Suzuki will play for Team Canada.
And given his start, why not? He's in competition, and it's not a done deal. Is
he in the mix?
Yeah, I guess he's in the mix. However, and again, these are projections from the NHL.com writers. If you look in goal, there's no Sam Montembeault to be found. He's not included in their projected roster. For Canada, they have Jordan Binnington, Aiden Hill, and Logan Thompson. And you can't really quibble given the start that Montembeault's had.
No. You might have some quibbling when you look at their projections for the Team USA roster, which does not have. They don't project that Lane Hutson or Cole Caufield will play for Team USA.
Maybe, and Caufield's surprising, especially given his start, leading in goal scoring or tied in goal scoring in the league. But keep in mind what the USA brass has said about the kind of team that they want to put together. They want players who can be good defensively, and you got to give Caufield credit. He has been that.
He's improved.
But they want guys that play with some sandpaper. Remember, they try to intimidate Team Canada at Four Nations. They want guys who can play the penalty kill. So do they have enough scoring? There's I guess I was going to say there's lots of time to decide not before they have to put out their rosters.
It's just
not a lot of time
or so before they do that.
It'll be touch and go for Caufield. I think we can safely say that Hudson's not likely to be on the USA team.
Alrighty. For the Slovakian team, we already know that Juraj Slafkovsky is going to play for them.
Yeah, he's been named by the team, so he'll be there. So the NHL.com writers included him.
Jakub Dobeš, as we talked about last week on the show, you even mentioned this and said, could Jakub Dobeš start to get a look for Team Czechia?
Absolutely. Well, why? Yeah, why not? I mean, he's had he hasn't represented, and not his fault. He left Czechia early, and went to the U.S. and at a very young age. But they're looking at him, and why wouldn't they?
Why wouldn't they? Also, Patrick Laine was selected to the preliminary Finnish roster, but question marks.
Yeah, he's out. He's going to be recovering after surgery, 3 to 4 months. I think it's safe to say that he will not be on the Finnish team.
Likely not. All right, well, we just have to wait to see what happens now with each of those teams, and we'll see how many Montreal Canadiens roster players get to represent their countries over in Milan in February. Could be pretty exciting. We are going to take our first break here on the Canadiens Connection podcast, hear from our friends and sponsors over at DraftKings with a special incentive for all of you. And when we come back, we are diving into our big topic for the week, what we learned in October, 10 things we know about the Habs so far. You do not want to miss this. So stick around. You're listening to the Canadiens Connection podcast on Rocket Sports Radio.
The NBA season tips off, and so does DraftKings' newest fantasy game. DraftKings Pick 6 is the easiest way to play for big wins, with every possession giving you a shot at real money. Here's how to play. Just pick more or less on 2 or more stats and unlock the upside every game brings. Pick 6 is available in Texas, California, Missouri, and more. And new DraftKings customers get $50 in bonus picks with just a $5 entry on your first pick set. Don't just watch basketball, cash in. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN. Play just $5, get $50 in Pick 6 bonus picks. Make the call. Ride the upside. In partnership with DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
And welcome back to the Canadiens Connection podcast here on Rocket Sports Radio. Once again, my name's Amy Johnson, and I did mention this earlier, but if you do want to follow my coverage on X, you can find me there. My Twitter handle is @FlyersRule. If you don't do that, that's okay. No hard feelings, but you do want to be sure you're following Rick Stevens on X. He mans our main Rocket Sports Twitter account, and that's where you not only get his coverage, but you also get all of the links to our content, whether it's podcast episodes or videos on YouTube or written content over on Hockey Hot Stove, as well as updates from Laval, from Trois-Rivières, all sorts of things. So be sure you're following him at Rocket Sports on X. And as I mentioned earlier, you can also follow this podcast on social media platforms at Habs Connection on X, Facebook, and Instagram. And hey, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the podcast. If you enjoy knowing that you can listen to some great talk about the Montreal Canadiens each and every week, all year long, not just during hockey season, but all year long, even throughout the off season in the summer, then make sure you tap subscribe on whatever podcast player you are currently listening to the show on. Or if you're over on YouTube, tap subscribe and hit the notification bell there as well. You're going to get Habs content all year round. And we know a lot of you really appreciate getting your Canadiens fix once a week with some great talk. All right, so we have come to the end of the first calendar month of the 2025-26 season. And I think Canadiens fans are riding pretty high, to say the least. The Habs are near the top of the standings in the NHL. They're playing exciting hockey. It's fun to watch them play again. You've got individual players on the team that are ranked near the top, if not at the top, of a bunch of different player categories. And that's whether you're looking at forwards or defensemen, rookies, goaltenders, you name it. And Marty St. Louis said at training camp that they had to, hands down, full accountability. It was a mandate. They had to start the season better than they did last year. Had to happen. And they have. I mean, there's just no getting around it. This season's start, hands down, night and day, looks nothing like the miserable start they had to start the year last year. So we had high expectations. Well, they're meeting them, maybe even exceeding them. So what we want to do today, Rick, is we're going to talk about all the factors that have combined to deliver this kind of result in the first month, and start to talk about what fans can expect from the team in November and maybe even beyond that as well.
Yeah, and we're not going to go looking at too much in depth in terms of the team. Let's look at the individuals who are driving this success so far.
That's right. And we have to start at the top, and that's with the captain, Nick Suzuki. Nick Suzuki, he's had some really good seasons recently, but he is almost a different level of himself in this first month, I think, to start this year.
Well, and you can go back in the last couple of months, ending last season, since the Four Nations break, and including the first month of the season, Nick Suzuki has been one of the best forwards in the National Hockey League, and that's just unquestionable. Right now, he's tied for first in the NHL with 14 assists. You might want a few more goals from him. He has 2 goals, so 16 points in the first 11 games. And also, he's a +9. And if you project that out over an 82 game schedule, 15 goals, okay, that's under his, the last 2 seasons he's had 30 and 33, I believe. But that projects out to 104 assists. So we're looking at 119 point season for now, as long as he keeps his pace, and he may not. But still, he's off to an incredible start.
Absolutely. And I'll take a +9. I'll take any player on the Canadiens roster in a +9 any day of the week. No surprise that the second player who's really driving things, Cole Caufield. I mean, Molson Cup winner for the month of October. That just got announced today. And hands down, who else were you going to pick?
9 goals in 11 games, 13 points, power play goals, overtime, three overtime goals, 3 game winners are big. The projections are silly. We're wondering if he could get to 40. Now people are talking about, will he get to 50? If he continues this pace, he's on a 67 goal pace for the season, and 97 points. Again, these are lofty numbers, and we don't expect them to get there. But what a great start for Caufield.
Definitely. I think I'm really pleased about number 3 on this list. And this list is in no particular order necessarily. But number 3 on this list, I'm just happy to see this name on this list, Juraj Slafkovsky, because there's been so much, I don't want to say uncertainty. There's been times in Slafkovsky's first few years that people weren't sure, was he overhyped? Did he really deserve to be the first overall pick? He's had some struggles. Absolutely has had some struggles. And this season, like Nick Suzuki, Juraj Slafkovsky is starting to look more like the player we all hoped he would become.
And a bit of a slower start.
Yeah.
He didn't break out of the gates, and he's playing a bit of catch up with Caufield and Suzuki. But he's to the point now where he's second on the team in goals. He's tied for second in power play points. He's projected to have a 37 goal season. Well, we'll see.
We'll take that.
We'll see how that goes. But if he could get to 25 or 30 goals, those would all be career highs. And he's physical. And that's one of the reasons that he fits so well with the top line. He leads the team with 21 hits.
And that was something that he acknowledged that he needed to work on. That I have a big body. I need to start using it. I have a big frame. I need to start using it. And he is starting to find that component of his game and finesse it into the offensive side of the game as well. And so I'm happy to see it starting to emerge this season at this early stage of the season, and I'm hoping that it just continues an upward trajectory. We've been ringing the Oliver Kapanen bell for a while before this season. We were both exceptionally pleased to see Oliver Kapanen earn an NHL roster job to start the season, and boy, oh boy, if there was anyone who was complaining and saying, I don't know about Oliver well, he's putting all of the critics to rest, because Oliver Kapanen has been phenomenal to start this season.
Oliver Kapanen, and again, as you said, we've said this last year.
Yeah.
But
when he
on
was
the question of does he play an NHL game? Is he an NHL player? He's closed the book on that. Mm-hmm. He slammed the book on that. Absolutely. He's tied for first in goals by rookies. And is playing really well with Demidov. And it's not all Demidov. Kapanen, the Canadiens are looking for centers. The Canadiens need centers, and he's gone in there and done that. And even on faceoffs, he's over 50% on faceoffs, which has been it's been an issue with the Canadiens. Looking, with Newhook and Kirby Dach having difficulty taking face-offs. 51% for Oliver Kapanen. That's really well done.
Number 5 on our list. Again, some of these just make me smile because there's been struggles, or they're players that I've complained about not doing enough. And I'm so happy to see the rejuvenation of Brendan Gallagher. I don't know if becoming a dad has made him feel more youthful, and that's coming across on the ice or what. But Brendan Gallagher is starting to look a little more like the Brendan Gallagher that we used to see in such dynamic play years ago.
33 years old. He has 6 assists so far. He filled in, moving up the lineup off of that fourth line, where he's very effective, but is able to move up, is able to contribute on the second wave of the power play. You need for a very young team, the youngest team in the NHL, you need the right veterans, and Brendan Gallagher is clearly one of the right veterans on this team.
Absolutely. And kudos to Brendan Gallagher, and I hope he continues to have a great season. The sixth factor that we're of things that we've learned in October is Patrick Laine. He's out with surgery, expected to have a 3 to 4 month recovery. And the segment is titled What We Learned in October, 10 Things We Know About the Habs So Far. So what does that mean in terms of Patrick Laine being out, and he's going to be out for a long period of time? Well, the thing to learn is, do the Canadiens miss him?
And sadly,
I don't think they do.
I don't think they do. Remember, prior to the season, Patrick Laine did everything in the offseason he was supposed to. He stayed in Montreal. He worked hard. He proclaimed that we're going to see the best Patrick Laine ever. And even when he was in the lineup, that didn't happen. Just one assist. In the 5 games that he played, he was a -3 and just didn't look like he was demoted to the second wave of the power play, not really contributing there. And now out 3 to 4 months, there was a talk about whether the Canadiens should re-sign him, should extend his contract. I don't see that happening, especially with him, as I say, out 3 to 4 months, an unfortunate injury. But sadly, I think we may have seen, yes, he could come back, but I think we've already seen the best of Patrick Laine in a Canadian sweater.
And yes, last year he came back from injury. He's that power play specialist. People are excited about that power play ability. As you said, he, in the short amount of games that he played this season, it wasn't quite there where we've seen it before. And item number 7 comes into play because there's a really exciting new piece of the power play puzzle that may have just booted the need for a Patrick Laine, and that's Ivan Demidov.
Yeah. We talked about the Calder race. He leads all rookies in assists. He leads all rookies in points. His effect on the Canadiens' power play when he was bumped up to the first wave was immediate, absolutely immediate. We talked about it in reviewing the games earlier in the first segment. He's on his way to being the Montreal Canadiens' best player. He's on his way, and I think it's going to take less time than we figured. He must get stronger. He must improve his defensive play. Although it's been pretty good, he must shoot more. He's got to trust his shot more. But just, in addition to the assists and points, the amount of possession time he has in the offensive zone is top of the league. The attempted slot passes is top 5 in the National Hockey League. He's been incredible. There was a piece in Sportsnet this week that had scouts, NHL scouts, comparing him to Pavel Datsyuk.
All right,
he's been absolutely incredible so far.
Well, and the thing is, he's got great hands, obviously, great offensive ability. His skating is ridiculous. His speed is ridiculous. But it's that intangible. It's the creativity on the ice, which is something we've not seen in a long time. His that all ever elusive hockey IQ. So yes, there are things that he has to build on. There are skills he needs to build on at the NHL level. But his understanding of the mechanics of the game, even at the NHL speed, is underlying everything that he does. And because he is so adept at seeing plays before they happen, seeing plays before they have developed, and being able to make them happen is, I think, what's going to, as you say, kind of advance him and propel him into an elite player faster than I think anyone's even expecting him to do, because he is adapting in real time. You see him grow game after game.
I found it interesting. One of the scouts, and I'm going to paraphrase here, one of the scouts said his his unpredictability makes him dangerous at both ends of the ice. And maybe that encapsulates where he is at this point. Because he's unpredictable, he's very effective in the offensive zone. But because he's unpredictable in his own zone, it makes it hard for his teammates to read off of him to move the puck out of the zone. And that's an area where he'll obviously improve as he goes along. And he's a guy who, like Lane Hutson and their roommates on the road, they immerse themselves in the game and they want to get better. They're out on the ice all the time. They're always talking hockey. They're always living hockey. And the way he's adapted so far is amazing, and it's only going to increase.
You mentioned his promotion to the first power play unit and what an immediate impact that's had on the guys who play on that wave, and the immediate impact that Demidov himself has had to that first power play. There is not an audio clip of this, but Nick Suzuki had a really interesting quote. This was after the Vancouver game on Saturday night. He had something really interesting to say about Demidov now playing on the first power play unit.
I'll find the quote here. Nick Suzuki, quote, "Guys respect skill and the stuff he has, even though he's a rookie." And then he goes on to say, as long as we're cooking, everyone's happy. But the first part is the important part. Guys respect skill and the stuff he has, even though he's a rookie. And he could have added, even though he's only played 11 games this season and a couple last season, that guys around the league already respect him, respect his skill and what he brings. That's incredible. Quote by Nick Suzuki about Demidov.
Definitely. Lane Hutson on the same night was asked about Ivan Demidov and him now joining Power Play One. Here's what he had to say about it.
Yeah, I think his ability to kind of threaten shots and passes and open up seams, it's pretty special, and it helps me, it helps Susie and everyone on the unit to kind of get into good ice, and he helps us get into a better space.
Yeah, so not only is he bringing his own skill, he makes everybody better around him, making Suzuki better, making Hutson better, and that takes some doing.
Definitely. Speaking of Lane Hutson, we have him as the 8th component of things that we learned in October, because, we said he struggled a little bit at the beginning of the season. We speculated as to whether or not that was related to negotiations with his contract extension. And then voila, once that extension was inked, Lane Hutson looks like the Lane Hutson of old.
Lane Hutson has always had his doubters, about his size, about whether his game could translate. And at the beginning of this season, there were still a lot of people who were saying, well, is he going to succumb to the sophomore slump? And those people felt a bit vindicated in the first few games of the season because he didn't look himself. But I think it's safe to say now, looking back, that it was the effect of the contract negotiations. He put an end to that. He took a team-friendly deal and just wanted to put it behind him. And since then, he's been fabulous. He's tied for second amongst defensemen with 9 assists, third in Canadian scoring with 10 points. He's been fabulous.
Absolutely. We talked about this guy towards the beginning of the show, but we cannot deny that one of the things that we know about the Habs so far, thanks to the month of October, is that Jakub Dobeš is for real.
He's for real.
He comes in at number 9 because, you mentioned his stats in the first segment, but this is not just a Canadiens phenomenon. This is a league-wide, people are paying attention to Jakub Dobeš.
And we also mentioned him with respect to rookies. But set that aside. Set aside that he's a rookie. he's in his goals against and save percentage, those in both stats, he's top 5 in the NHL amongst all goaltenders. And he looks confident. His team, certainly likes him when he's in there. And, you can predict when the transition happens as we move from the placeholders to the folks who are going to take those places as the Canadiens move into a contending type team. You can predict who those players are who take away the positions from the placeholders. And you might be wrong on all of them, because Jakub Dobeš is making the case that he should get at least as many starts. In fact, the bulk of the starts going forward for the Montreal Canadiens. And, Sam Montembeault has really struggled. But Sam Montembeault is kind of been a middle of the road kind of goaltender, an average goaltender, who's gotten a lot of praise in Montreal. And yes, he was there for the rebuild. But I think most Canadiens fans always knew that it was going to take more than a Sam Montembeault to be able to be where the Canadiens were headed, and that is a perennial Stanley Cup contender. And who knows? It's only been 11 games, but are we seeing a transition? And Jakub Dobeš with the 6-0 start is, you can't argue with the way he has played so far.
No, not at all. A few numbers ago, we asked the question of the thing that we learned in October was, do the Canadiens miss Patrick Laine? Well, at number 10, we have someone who the Canadiens absolutely do miss in the lineup, and we have learned that, and that is Caden Gooley. He is a glaring absence on the back end for the Canadiens. Yeah.
On the defensive side, there is no one. There's no one like Caden Gooley amongst the defensemen who are playing now. There's just no one like him. He's kind of an irreplaceable piece, and certainly part of the core. And the Canadiens will need him going forward. He's had some injury issues over the years, and injured now. The defensive zone play, the physicality, while still being able to move the puck well, and the penalty kill are all suffering because of the absence. And you can say, who's the most valuable defenseman? Is it Lane Hutson, the way he plays? Is it the new acquisition in Noah Dobson? I'd make the case, and I just said it. Caden Gooley is irreplaceable in the lineup. The Canadiens need more of Caden Gooley's, not less, or what he brings. And I was struck in the past week. I read a quote. I'm going to grab it here because I don't want to have him misquoted. Danny Dubé, and Danny Dubé, member of the media, and Danny Dubé, late 90s, I guess it was, as coach and GM of the Cape Breton Screaming Eagles. Not a very successful one, but he went into the media and has found his success there. But he says that I have a hard time reading this. I really do. With a straight face. Danny Dubé has been, the article on TVR says, has been thrilled by Mike Matheson's brilliance, and goes on to say that Mike Matheson is the best defensive defenseman in the entire National Hockey League. The full quote: in addition to being an excellent athlete, Matheson is an outstanding skater. This gives him an essential quality for the role he has been given with the Canadiens. And we know his role has changed, moving from a an offensive player, a leader on the top power play, to a defensive player, and gets a ton of penalty kill minutes. And this is where Danny Dubé says, Matheson is the best defensive defenseman in the entire National Hockey League. He does everything. He defends. He blocks shots. He's able to hit opponents. He's involved in the physical game. Okay. He's an extremely complete player who can be used in all phases of the game. And, this has led to folks wanting, and the Canadiens, they're considering extending his contract, some outrageous figures being thrown around, $7 million and term and whatnot. The best defensive defenseman. Let's look at last week.
Let's be realistic.
Let's look at last week. And I know 2 games is you can't come to conclusions, but just for an example, humor me. Canadiens 4-3 winners in Vancouver. Matheson was on the ice for 2 Vancouver goals. Carrier, who's supposed to be another player who plays a defensive-minded game, on the ice for all 3 Vancouver goals. 4-3 Montreal over Seattle in overtime, and we talked about the collapse, the 3 late Kraken goals. Carrier was on the ice for 2 of the Seattle goals. He's supposed to be the defensive guy. And the best defensive defenseman in all of the National Hockey League, Mike Matheson, according to Danny Dubé, was on the ice for all 3 Seattle goals. So each of them were on the ice for 5 of the 6 goals against this past week. It's so stupidly. I'm sorry, Mike Matheson. What has he done this year? 6 points in 11 games. That's 32nd amongst defensemen in the National Hockey League. Okay, well, his offensive side has been reduced. What did he say? That he hits the opponent and gets involved physically. Well, he has 12 hits. That's 67th amongst defensemen in the National Hockey League. 2.63 hits per 60. That's 131st in the National Hockey League. He said he blocks shots. He's able to block shots. He defends. He has 5.2 blocks per 60. That's 75th in the National Hockey League. Mike Kelly did put out a thing on puck battles, winning puck battles. And the Canadiens defensemen actually do pretty well at that. Lane Hutson is the best at winning puck battles amongst defensemen. Jaden Struble is next in that category. Carrier next, and then amongst those 4, Mike Matheson is the worst, behind Hutson, Struble, and Carrier. So what is it that he does defensively again? And the Canadiens, we know that the penalty kill has not been very good, and he's getting the majority of the penalty killing time. The Canadiens, Mike Matheson, let's put him aside. The Canadiens miss Caden Gooley, and they need another Caden Gooley on their roster.
And I know, unfortunately, it was a recent episode that we had. I had a comment on Twitter that said something to the effect, I don't recall the name of the person, but they had said something basically to the effect of, I don't think I've ever listened to an episode that you guys don't crap all over Mike Matheson. And listen, so I'm sure this is going to garner another one of those kinds of comments. We would not have to be so defensive about why Mike Matheson about his shortcomings, if we could have a week that goes by that the media isn't cheerleading for him like he is the perfect defenseman and like he can do no wrong and like he is a god amongst all blue liners and God's gift to defense. If the media would be realistic about Mike Matheson's strengths and weaknesses, then we wouldn't have to go to bat so hard in pointing out the actual facts of his statistics It's nothing against Mike Matheson. There's things Mike Matheson does well, but unfortunately, we don't have the space to talk about those as much because we're too busy trying to bring everybody back down to reality when this is the kind of stuff that gets put out there, that he's the best defensive defenseman in the entire National Hockey League. Come on.
Like, you look at the Canadiens, and they've given up 18 goals in the third period. And you can say, okay, that's a young team. They need to learn how to play with the lead, and that's valid. But the guy who eats up the most minutes on the team is a veteran, and he's on the ice for a lot of those goals. There are only two teams in the National Hockey League who have had leads in the third period but have two losses. They are the Calgary Flames, who are horrific this season, and the Montreal Canadiens. This is something. What have we learned? We've learned a lot of good stuff, and we've learned a lot of things, a lot of positive things. But this is something the Canadiens must clean up. If they're going to achieve their expectations or stay at this pace, and I just don't expect the best defensive defenseman in the National Hockey League, so-called, to be the one who fixes that.
You know, we used to also get a lot of comments similar to that of, can't listen to an episode without you guys crapping all over Sam Montembeault. Those comments seem to have magically disappeared because suddenly nobody can hide about Montembeault's struggles anymore. So maybe we're just trying to be objective, not crapping on anybody.
No.
Just trying to keep it real about Mike Matheson.
But you place our comments against the blind cheerleaders out there, and it's,
Sorry. Get defensive about these things, but we have to justify why we do what we do and the way we do it. All right. So that's the 10 things that we've learned so far in the month of October for this season. We have a bonus thing that we've learned, however, and that is not a player, but it is Kent Hughes. Something about Kent Hughes that we have learned in the month of October.
Kent Hughes was doing the media rounds, and a couple of quotes that I found absolutely fascinating. One of the quotes, Kent Hughes quote, "Sometimes I needed patience," and he's looking back at the moves that he's made so far. You want to win, but you have to follow the process. Now we're starting to be on the right side. So he said before that he wants things done yesterday. And it's Jeff Gorton who is the one who always reminds him about the process, reminds him to be patient, reminds him to consider the long-term plan. And yes, he doesn't mention, where he should have been more patient. But I think for Canadiens fans, they can figure that out. And Kent Hughes has learned that lesson. I think that's very positive going forward, and that's something we learned about the front office.
He also made an admission this past month. It says, quote, "To date, we haven't always made the best decision, but we shouldn't be afraid of making mistakes."
Yeah,
I'd like to know what he thinks we haven't always made the best decision.
Alex Newhook, Kirby Dach, all of those things and yes, okay, if they can internally say, yes, we've made mistakes, we're not going to do that again. We're not going to try and fast forward the rebuild. We're not going to try and rush things, skip steps. We're going to follow the process. I think that's being able to acknowledge that there have been mistakes. He doesn't have to do it publicly. And that kind of sets the table. There's been so much talk in the past week about the Canadiens should be in on Nazem Kadri or Ryan O'Reilly, or we heard a lot of fans banging the drum for Sidney Crosby. But maybe, and if they're able to land any one of those players without giving up their major assets, that might be a win. But you have Slafkovsky coming, you have Michael Hage coming. Maybe it's time to be patient, as Kent Hughes said.
We like patience. Sometimes we like patience. All right. Well, for just one single 31-day period in the season, we've learned an awful lot already about the Canadiens and what has propelled them through this early success through the month of October. And, hopefully November continues that trend. Hopefully we see more growth in the positive ways. Hopefully we see less of the negative or the weakness sides of things. And hopefully they can keep up the consistency that we've seen with them so far. So our Canadiens Connection question of the week for you this week is, which Canadiens player has surprised you the most this season? Good or bad? Good or bad, and why? Which Canadiens player has surprised you the most so far this season? Good or bad, and why? This, put your thinking caps on for this one, because I think we're going to get a wide variety of answers here, depending on whether people choose a good surprise or a bad surprise. You're welcome to choose both. That's fine too. But send us your replies at 5853-ROCKET. That's how you can text us. Drop a comment on Spotify or on our YouTube channel, or hit us up on social media, X, Facebook, Instagram, at Habs Connection. Let us know what you think, and we could be reading your opinions next week right here on the show. Right now, we're going to take one more break on the Canadiens Connection podcast. This week's DraftKings Pick 6 incentive, by the way, is brand new. This is a new incentive this week, so be sure you check it out. And on the other side, we've got some great responses to your to last week's Canadiens Connection question of the week that you sent in. So we're going to break some of those down right after this. Stay with us. You're listening to the Canadiens Connection podcast on Rocket Sports Radio.
The NBA season tips off, and so does DraftKings' newest fantasy game. DraftKings Pick 6 is the easiest way to play for big wins, with every possession giving you a shot at real money. Here's how to play. Just pick more or less on 2 or more stats and unlock the upside every game brings. Pick 6 is available in Texas, California, Missouri, and more. And new DraftKings customers get $50 in bonus picks with just a $5 entry on your first pick set. Don't just watch basketball, cash in. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN. Play just $5, get $50 in Pick 6 bonus picks. Make the call. Ride the upside. In partnership with DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
And welcome back to episode 372 of the Canadiens Connection podcast on Rocket Sports Radio. Don't forget, if you haven't done so already, make sure you tap that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel over at InsideTheCanadiens.com. Also, if you haven't done so, be sure you check out our written content over on HockeyHotStove.com. Just head to HockeyHotStove.com. Tap on the Canadiens logo, and that'll take you straight to our Canadiens content. In addition to that, visit the forum tab at hockeyhotstove.com and jump down to the Montreal Canadiens forum page, where lots of debate and fun conversation go on. You can jump in, meet lots of other Habs fans, and talk about everything related to the Canadiens if you want. Be sure you do that. Don't forget, we want to hear from you on the Canadiens Connection question of the week. Which Canadiens player has surprised you the most so far this season, good or bad, and why? Which Canadiens player has surprised you the most so far this season, good or bad, and why? Last week was all about kind of the changing of the guard with the netminders, that Montembeault is obviously struggling. He is taking a back seat to young Jakub Dobeš. And we asked you last week, which Habs goaltender gives you more confidence right now and why? And we actually this week had a couple of great responses on Twitter, which we'd like to read out. Had some also kind of meh responses. Twitter is one of those places where you either get great replies or you kind of scratch your head and say, huh? But we had a couple of good ones. Rick, why don't you start?
On X, this one comes from Baffled Bill. Bill says, is there really a need to anoint one or the other goaltender? Just say we have a tandem and then go with whoever's playing better at the time. And okay, if that's your position, I wonder if it was also your position when everybody was rushing to say Monty's the number one. He's the number one. You know, he's the number one. Have you heard? He's the number one. He's number one. He's unquestioned number one. Because that's kind of what we heard before. So we just wondered if that's consistent. That's all.
But thank you for the reply.
For sure.
Alfredo said, there is no debate, no controversy. Marty St. Louis said this season is about winning. We go with our goalie that wins. Period. Alfredo, I applaud the response because that is actually absolutely how it should go. If they want to win, if they want to be contenders, then you have to play the goalie who's helping you win. Period. Thank you very much to both of you for your contributions on X. Over on YouTube, we had a number of responses as well. We've picked out a couple of the best ones. Rick, I'll let you kick this off again.
This one comes from Leonid, our friend in St. Petersburg. He said, Dobish is more hope than certainty, but that's important right now. This team is not in now or never mode. I don't see Montembeault in goal in 2 or 3 years. We talked about placeholders and transition. But I'm not sure about Dobes either, but he, in my opinion, can still grow. Well, Montembeault has already shown us what he's got. Wasn't bad, but I don't expect any new tricks from this pony. He'll be better than he was at the beginning of the year, but not better than his best performances last season. Between a bird in the hand and 2 in the bush, I'll always choose the 2. Thank you for a great show and interesting discussion. That comes from Leonid, and we always appreciate hearing from him.
Yeah, great comment. We also always appreciate hearing from @FrankHuber9912. He's usually got very astute observations, and then he gets creative, and he hasn't let us down this week either. He says, are great goalies born or created? Montembeault pulls himself from a playoff game. The revelation, Monty has diminished under the increasing burden of scrutiny and has allowed himself to become only that which he does in the moment. And thus he toils, bereft of the substance one needs for rising to the occasion. Lest he discovers his greater self, he is destined to remain forever trapped in that reality. Dobish, on the other hand, has ascended to take a wider perspective of his own presence. Clarity, sentience, free will. He has the greater capacity to adapt with the evolving fortunes of his team. So Dobish it is. And then he gets creative. It is preordained, or Darwin, inherit the wind.
It's very profound.
He is. It's very profound. It was very well written. And I agree with his assessment there. He always gives us kind of the creative writing in the last paragraph. So he says, predictions, speaking of Dobish, whilst frolicking merrily with his pals in joyous celebration of glorious conquest in faraway lands, aka the Western Road Trip, an overly exuberant Dobish fumbles the fabled Habs torch into the murky deeps of the St. Lawrence just off Hutson's Key, and therewith reaps the eternal wrath of a fanatically traditionalist podcaster who is suddenly irked enough to momentarily consider swearing undying allegiance to Monty la Usurper.
Is this
like Lord of the Rings?
No, I was going to say, is this a dig at you? Are you the traditionalist podcaster related to the torch? Because you mentioned about the torch, missing the torch, and the torch should be part.
Could be.
I don't know.
I am a traditionalist.
We have to study these.
I'm going to need I'm going to need an @FrankHuber9912 101 literature class or something. It's very good though. I appreciate the thought that goes into it. He spends a lot and the time that he spends, and it's always it's certainly always something you have to stop and read a couple of times. And we appreciate the effort. Thank you very much. As far as the Canadiens, what have they got coming this week? Well, they will be,
Arbor Shakai says, we have not forgotten.
Yeah. Saturday night, it's bad enough. There's going to be a lot of people watching the Toronto Blue Jays on Saturday night. It's a good thing that the Toronto Blue Jays don't start until an hour after the Habs start, because everyone's going to want to watch the first period of Toronto taking on Ottawa, because
Montreal taking on
Ottawa.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Cousins is going to be in the game on the top line. Curtis McDermott's playing. I think it's going to get messy. Oh, and Sam Montembeau's in net.
Do you remember the slash on Demidov in the preseason game? Nick Cousins, a dirty play. He's going to have to answer for that.
Mm-hmm. So that's Saturday night. Then the Habs will play Tuesday night when the Philadelphia Flyers visit the Bell Center, and we will see if they can give Rick Stevens an early birthday present. You get the night off on Wednesday. No hockey to cover on your birthday. But then on Thursday, Montreal takes a quick trip to the Rock, where they will visit the New Jersey Devils on Thursday night, which should be an interesting matchup as well.
Well, especially with New Jersey at near the top of the standings. And the Canadiens, they're going to face some tougher competition. Remember, we talked about the schedule, the relatively easy schedule as far as the strength of competition in October. That picks up in November, the much stronger teams, but 8 of the next 10 games will be at the Bell Center at home, so that kind of eases them in. Schedule makers really kind to Montreal this season.
Very home-friendly schedule for the month of November, that's for sure. And then we will be back next Saturday, November 8th, for the next edition of the Canadiens Connection podcast. I guarantee, will have lots to talk about. Hope you don't miss it. Make sure you hit subscribe so that you don't. And enjoy hockey. Enjoy the World Series. Enjoy the start of November. Enjoy your extra hour of sleep tonight as well. And we'll see you again next time for another great episode of the Canadiens Connection podcast on Rocket Sports Radio.
Click subscribe so you never miss an episode of Canadiens Connection. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Rocket Sports.